And they know their boss is dead.
Move, go! Don't push me.
You're scanning.
Back off. Guys, I need a way out. Which way you into moving? Which way I'm guessing up? Gary.
Now!
What happened down there? Where's my father?
Come on, come on.
Charlie, that isn't through the common yard.
Negative.
Keep swinging that thing.
Stand clear. Reaching in 3.
And they know their boss is dead.
Move, go!
Mama შენი ქარის.
Get rid of these guys!
Already?
Just push the last two, they're down. Drive.
Maintain formation.
Copy.
Stay right.
Got multiple bikes and an unarmed dude.
These men are killers.
Yeah, some. We're hit! Keep those bikes up. Feels that way. Go, Dave.
Hurry! That's supposed to be funny.
Sienna, man kann das hier aus Iran. Yaz, get us a med kit. Open fracture. She's gonna need a doctor.
Wow.
off the train, Nick.
Where's her out?
Kill the family. We got no brakes. It's gonna be a rough landing, so hold on tight. Entering us in. Go, get in the car. Sandro! Kid, boys!
I got it.
Stay in radio contact.
Come back here.
무게 어디 주연탄?
어디야? On foot, heading street side. We need evac.
Right, gauntlet, I'm returning. Strong pod!
Pin down! Hurry up!
Get to the roof, take their wing.
To the roof.
Go, Chopper. I'll sweep up from the floor below.
It's Edward.
Nothing to be sorry about. Again.
Thanks.
Possessions.
Family, I got this.
You must really care for this woman. How it feels to lose someone you love.
Get the family.
Yeah. Don't do this.
Stay with her.
Come.
Go.
Ed. Pull the trigger, consume yourself, is slowly draining from your body. Come more to it. The gun in your hand.
You're a coward.
Prison. Maybe. Go.
So put the gun down! Nick.
Hey guys, today we're diving headfirst into the adrenaline-fueled sequel that nobody asked for but everyone secretly needed, Extraction 2. If you had a good time with this, a like and a subscribe is a free way to help me keep making more. We pick up exactly where the first one left us, with our favorite human Swiss Army knife, Tyler Rake, plummeting into a river after taking more damage than a smartphone in a mosh pit. Honestly, you'd think a guy would learn to invest in a parachute after the first time. Miraculously, or, let's be real, because action heroes have plot armor thicker than a tank, his team, led by the ever-reliable Nick Khan and Yuz, manage to fish him out. What follows is a brutal, agonizing journey of recovery as Rake battles back from the brink of death. He's got more tubes than a spaghetti factory and more broken bones than a demolition derby driver. Seriously, his doctors probably just shook their heads and muttered, "This guy again?" After 9 months of what looks less like physical therapy and more like self-torture, the remote Austrian cabin, Rake is finally, somewhat, back on his feet. He's chopping wood, lifting weights, and generally looking like he could bench press a small car, but don't mistake this for a quiet retirement. You know what they say about old habits and highly trained mercenaries. Just when Rake thinks he might actually get to enjoy a quiet cup of organic kombucha, the universe, or rather, the impeccably dressed fixer Alkit, drops an unannounced Alkit, who seems to materialize out of thin air with a helicopter and an air of quiet menace, is here with an opportunity, and by opportunity, he means a suicide mission with a side of moral complexity. He lays out the situation. Rake's sister-in-law, Kedivin, and her two children are being held captive in a Georgian prison. She's married to David Radiani, a ruthless gangster, but their family business is less selling artisanal cheeses and more running a global crime syndicate. David, who has a charming habit of holding his family hostage when things get spicy, is currently holed up with them in a heavily fortified prison. This isn't just a rescue, it's a family reunion from hell, and Rake is tasked with bringing them out alive. The weight of his past, particularly the death of his own son, hangs heavy in the air. This mission isn't just about the money, it's about a chance at redemption, a shot at righting a cosmic wrong, or at least, stopping another kid from growing up in a mob-run daycare. Rake, despite his initial reluctance, because who wants to trade peaceful mountain living for a Georgian prison break, eventually agrees. The glimmer in his eye tells us he's not quite ready for retirement, not when there are still bad guys to punch and family to save, even if that family comes with more baggage than a transatlantic flight. With the mission accepted, Rake doesn't just grab a bigger gun and hope for the best. He calls in the cavalry, meaning Nick and Yuz, the dynamic duo who apparently have rescued Tyler from certain death listed as their primary job duty. They don't even question it. It's like a bad signal for Black Ops. The team quickly assembles in their sleek, high-tech command center, which looks less like an office and more like something out of a sci-fi movie where everyone gets their own cool glowing screens. They dive deep into the intel, poring over blueprints of the Georgian prison that looks less like a correctional facility and more like a medieval fortress, complete with an escape-proof reputation. Their mission briefing is a masterclass in tactical planning, discussing everything from entry points to exfiltration routes, and probably debating the merits of various high-caffeine beverages. The stakes are immense. Rescue a woman and her two children from a high-security prison, guarded by one of Eastern Europe's most dangerous crime syndicates, and do it without drawing too much attention. Which, when you're Tyler Rake, usually means draw all the attention, but then punch it into submission. Nick, ever the pragmatist, points out the insane risks involved, but Yaz, with her quiet determination, reminds everyone why they're doing this, for Rake and for the innocent lives caught in this geopolitical mess. The team's camaraderie and professionalism are palpable. They're not just colleagues, they're a family, albeit one that prefers high-caliber weapons to holiday dinners. Now, most people plan a prison break by, filing a cake. Rake and his crew, they go full Shawshank Redemption meets Ocean's 11, dressed in the finest, definitely not here to break people out prison uniforms. They execute a highly elaborate infiltration. The plan involves digging a tunnel straight into the heart of the beast, bypassing the heavily fortified main gates and the watchful eyes of David's private army. The crunch of gravel and the groan of heavy machinery echo through the subterranean passage as they dig, each shovelful of dirt a testament to their insane determination. The atmosphere is thick with anticipation and the smell of damp earth, a stark contrast to the sterile, calculated violence that's about to unfold. There's a quiet intensity as they work, each member a finely tuned cog in a very dangerous machine. Nick is on comms, providing real-time intel, while Yaz is securing their perimeter, making sure no nosy guards decide to take a midnight stroll near their secret dig site. The clock is ticking, and every second brings them closer to breaching the inner sanctum, closer to Kedivin and her children, and closer to a fight that will make a regular prison riot look like a kindergarten playdate as they finally break through the ground. The cold, steel-reinforced walls of the prison loom above them, a grim promise of the chaos to come. Rake takes a deep breath, the metallic tang of fear and adrenaline mixing in the air. Game on. Once inside, Rake sheds his disguise faster than a chameleon in a paint store and moves with the silent precision of a predator. The prison's interior is a labyrinth of concrete and steel, each corridor echoing with the muffled sounds of despair. Guided by Nick's expert comms, he eventually locates Kedivin and her children, Sandro and Nina, in their surprisingly spacious, yet still grim cell. The reunion is anything but warm. Kedivin, understandably, is less "thank goodness you're here" and more "what the actual hell have you done now? You walking disaster zone?" She's terrified, protective of her children, and deeply distrustful of Rake, who, let's be fair, has a face that says "I've seen things, and then I punch them." The kids, however, are a different story, their wide eyes reflecting a mixture of fear and awe at this sudden, violent disruption of their lives. Just as Rake tries to explain the "we're getting you out of here, like it or not" plan, the prison's alarm system decides to throw a party. The deafening blare signals that David's goons know something's up, and they're not sending flowers. The first wave of guards descends, a torrent of armed men in the narrow corridors. The crack of gunfire and the thud of bodies hitting the floor kick off the longest, most brutal prison break in cinematic history. Rake, without a word, unleashes a torrent of controlled violence, moving like a human blur, disarming, incapacitating, and generally making these guards regret their career choices. The children huddle, terrified, witnessing their uncle transform into a one-man wrecking crew. Just when you thought the inside of a maximum security prison was bad, Rake, Kedivin, and the kids burst into the prison yard, which immediately transforms into a full-scale riot, and it's not just a few angry inmates. It's practically a zombie horde, all loyal to David and eager to get a piece of the guy trying to liberate their boss's family. This entire sequence is a masterclass in choreographed mayhem, a glorious, single-shot spectacle that makes you wonder if Chris Hemsworth secretly has a twin brother who just loves getting punched. Rake, armed with whatever he can grab, a riot shield, a shiv, the sheer force of his own will, becomes a hurricane of controlled violence. The metallic clang of the shield deflecting blows, the wet thud of punches connecting, the guttural shouts of the prisoners, it's an auditory feast for fans of action cinema. He's not just fighting, he's a strategic bulldozer, clearing a path through a sea of bodies, all while trying to protect the terrified children and a very angry sister-in-law. Explosions erupt in the background, adding a chaotic symphony to the already deafening cacophony. Guards fire from watchtowers, adding another layer of danger, their bullets whistling past Rake's head with alarming frequency. Yaz and Nick, providing overwatch and tactical support, are trying to keep the escape route open, but this is Rake's show. He's flipping prisoners, disarming them, using environmental hazards to his advantage, and generally making it clear that a bad day for him is a very, very bad day for anyone who gets in his way. He's a human MC Escher drawing a pain, twisting and turning, delivering righteous fury to every unfortunate soul who thinks they can stop him. It's an exercise in pure, unadulterated cinematic brutality, and you can practically feel the grit and grime through the screen. Having survived the prison riot, which felt less like a breakout and more like a tactical demolition derby, Rake and his weary entourage finally make it to their prearranged getaway vehicle, a sleek, heavily armored train. The sheer audacity of using a train as an escape route is almost comical, until you remember this is a movie where people routinely fall from great heights and survive. As they board, there's a collective exhale, a brief, fragile moment of calm that feels utterly alien after the preceding chaos. The children, still reeling from the violence they just witnessed, because nothing says childhood trauma like seeing your uncle turn into a human meat grinder, look out the windows, their faces reflecting a mixture of fear and newfound hesitant hope. Kedivin, however, remains prickly, her anger at Rake for dragging her into this mess momentarily overshadowed by the sheer relief of being out of that hellhole. Nick and Yaz immediately get to work, securing the train's various points of entry, their movements sharp and efficient, betraying their exhaustion. The train begins to move, gathering speed, carrying them further away from the immediate danger, but not from the persistent threat of David and his equally vengeful brother, Zurab. The rhythmic clack of the wheels on the tracks is the only sound. For a moment, a temporary lull before the next storm, everyone knows this isn't over. It's less of an escape and more of a strategic retreat to the next battleground. A brief pit stop before the next wave of meticulously choreographed violence inevitably descends. This temporary calm is less comforting and more like the ominous quiet before a thunderclap, and we, the audience, are just waiting for the first drop of rain. Just as everyone starts to wonder if they might actually get a chance to catch their breath, maybe even enjoy a train-provided mini pretzel, the party really kicks off. David's brother, the delightfully unhinged Zurab, decides to throw a welcome to freedom party, complete with helicopters, heavy machine guns, and enough explosives to level a small village. Seriously, this guy doesn't do anything by halves. Suddenly, the serene landscape outside the train windows is replaced by the terrifying silhouette of attack helicopters, their rotors thudding a death march. The metallic crackle of automatic gunfire rips through the air, tearing through the train's outer shell like it's made of tin foil. Bullets ping and ricochet with a deafening clamor, turning the once secure compartments into a deadly maze of shrapnel and flying debris. Rake, Nick, and Yaz immediately spring into action, transforming the train into a mobile fortress. They return, fire with a grim determination, each bullet a desperate plea for survival. The children huddle in terror, the noise almost physically painful. Kedivin, ever the reluctant participant, can only watch as her supposed saviors battle for their lives and hers. The train carriage, meant to be a sanctuary, becomes a war zone, every surface scarred by bullet holes, every window shattered. Rake moves with his signature brutal efficiency, using the train's interior to his advantage, ducking, weaving, and delivering precise shots. It's a relentless, claustrophobic ballet of destruction, where every second counts, and every bullet could mean the difference between life and a very messy end. The whoosh of a helicopter passing perilously close, the frantic shouts of the team, the almost constant thrum of weapon fire. It's a sensory overload, pushing everyone to their absolute limits. As if fighting inside a bullet-riddled train wasn't exciting enough, Rake decides to take the scenic route on the roof. He clambers out, leaving the relative safety of the bullet-riddled interior for the exhilarating rush of wind, speed, and even more bullets. This is where things go from intense to absolutely bonkers. Operatives rappel down from the helicopters like angry spiders, armed to the teeth and clearly not here to ask for directions. Rake engages in a breathtaking ballet of high-speed violence, dodging incoming fire while simultaneously delivering bone-crunching blows. The metallic scrape of boots on the train's roof, the whistling wind, the constant roar of the helicopters, it's an immersive soundscape of pure, unadulterated chaos. He's wrestling with heavily armed goons, some of whom seem to have a strange aversion to gravity. At one point, he's basically playing human-sized whack-a-mole with a guy dangling from a helicopter, trying to pull him off the train. It's a dizzying display of strength and agility, made even more perilous by the fact that one wrong step means a very sudden, very splatty end on the tracks below. The goal isn't just to survive, it's to take down the helicopters, which are acting like aerial snipers, picking off his team. He dodges, weaves, and unleashes a flurry of punches and kicks, each strike a desperate attempt to gain an inch in this impossible fight. It's an insane, beautifully choreographed sequence that showcases Rake's incredible resilience and his absolute refusal to stay down, even when the laws of physics are actively conspiring against him. You can almost feel the wind whipping past your face, the jarring impact of each blow, the sheer desperation to survive this ludicrously over-the-top encounter. After battling what feels like a small army on top of a moving train, Rake, in a move that screams "I'm out of ideas, so I'll just be extra crazy," decides to take the fight directly to the source, the helicopter. With a grunt that probably sounds like a bear trying to escape a particularly tight sweater, he makes an impossible leap onto the side of the flying death machine. The rotor wash batters him, the wind howls, but his grip is ironclad. He forces his way into the cockpit, engaging in a frantic, claustrophobic struggle with the pilot. It's not just a fight, it's a desperate dance of death, hundreds of feet in the air, with the control stick flailing wildly. The metallic creak of the helicopter's frame straining under the abuse, the frantic shouts, the almost cartoonish struggle for control. It's utterly chaotic. Rake, with a surge of adrenaline that could power a small city, manages to incapacitate the pilot, sending the chopper spiraling out of control. The whoosh of its descent, the rising pitch of the engine, then a truly spectacular, earth-shattering explosion as it impacts the ground far behind the train. The fiery burst momentarily illuminates the landscape, a grim punctuation mark on the chaos they just endured. The concussive blast can almost be felt, even through the screen. For a brief moment, a wave of stunned silence descends, broken only by the rhythmic chugging of the train and the heavy breaths of the survivors. It's a moment of victory, but a costly one, reminding everyone that in this world, even the most spectacular wins come at a steep price. The air is still thick with the smell of smoke and gunpowder, a fragrant reminder of the carnage after the most stressful train ride since, well, ever. Rake and his exhausted party arrive at a prearranged safe house, and by safe house, they mean a heavily fortified, remote cabin in a snow-covered forest, looking less like a cozy retreat and more like a minimalist bunker. The crisp, cold air offers a stark contrast to the fire and chaos they just escaped, but the tension is thick, enough to cut with a tactical knife. The children, bless their traumatized little hearts, finally get a chance to sit down and process the fact that their uncle moonlights as a one-man army. There's a brief, almost peaceful silence, broken only by the crackle of a fire and the hushed voices of the team. Nick and Yuz immediately get to work, fortifying their position, because if there's one thing they've learned, it's that peace and quiet are just the universe's way of setting up the next ambush. But the emotional fireworks aren't over. Kevin, still seething and with every right to be, confronts Rake. Their argument crackles with resentment and unspoken pain. She accuses him of being reckless, of dragging her and her children into a war zone, and of being no better than David in his single-minded pursuit of violence. Rake, ever the stoic, tries to explain the impossible choices, the lesser of two evils, but the words fall flat against her raw fear and anger. The metallic taste of unease lingers in the air. This isn't just a physical battle. It's a deeply personal one, tangled up in family, responsibility, and the inescapable gravity of their pasts. Even in this temporary haven, the threat of Zura blooms, a silent promise of future violence, and everyone knows this quiet is merely the eye of a very dangerous storm. It's like having a brief, awkward family dinner, but with the added tension of knowing an assassin might burst through the window at any moment. Just as Rake probably considers explaining the finer points of tactical retreat to Kevin, Zurab, who clearly has persistence as his middle name, crashed the party. Because, of course, he does. Turns out, a heavily armored train with a helicopter chasing it isn't exactly discreet. The serene, snow-covered forest suddenly becomes a battleground as Zurab's forces, looking like a heavily armed winter fashion show, emerge from the tree line. Snipers take positions, their laser sights painting deadly red dots across the safe house walls. Heavily armed commandos advance, their movements precise and menacing. The peaceful crunch of snow underfoot is replaced by the ominous thud of heavy boots and the click-clack of weapons being readied. The first volley of gunfire rips through the air, shattering windows and splintering wood, turning the safe house into a glorified target practice range. Rake and his team, who clearly run on pure adrenaline and the unspoken promise of more punching, immediately react. Nick barks orders, Yaz provides cover fire, and Rake, with a speed that defies his recent injuries, herds Kevin and the children to the most fortified parts of the house. The metallic whine of bullets tearing through drywall, the shouts of the attackers, the frantic cries of the children, it's a terrifying symphony of destruction. They are outnumbered, outgunned, and clearly out-snowshoed. But Rake, ever the defiant one, isn't about to let a little thing like a massive assault stop him. This isn't just a defense. It's a desperate, last-ditch stand against an overwhelming force, and every single person in that house knows it. The silence of the forest is now a distant memory, replaced by the relentless drumbeat of war. Zarab's forces aren't just knocking. They're actively trying to dismantle the entire house, brick by bloody brick. The safe house becomes a maze of shattered glass, splintered wood, and very angry men with very large guns. Rake, abandoning conventional tactics, because who needs a gun when you have a conveniently placed dumbbell, dives into the melee. He's using everything at his disposal, an improvised bludgeon, a kitchen knife, and his perpetually furious fists, the crack of bone, the wet thud of punches, the guttural screams of pain. It's a symphony of visceral violence. Nick and Yaz are fighting like cornered wolverines, covering each other, moving with practiced synchronicity. Bullets shred through the thin walls, and the children, poor things, are witnessing a masterclass in extreme violence up close. Sandro, Kedevin's son, even tries to grab a gun at one point, his young mind processing the brutality of it all. It's a gut-wrenching moment, highlighting the cost of this life. Rake, seeing this, pushes harder, driven by a primal need to protect, to prevent another child from being tainted by this world. The metallic scrape of blades, the desperate grunts of effort, the breathless shouts of the team. It's an auditory roller coaster. This isn't a clean fight. It's messy, it's desperate, and it's being fought for the highest stakes. They're not just defending a house. They're defending innocent lives against a tide of ruthless, relentless killers. Every swing, every parry, every bullet fired is a testament to their grim determination, a furious refusal to back down, even when the odds are stacked against them like a Jenga tower made of doom, amidst the raging inferno that was once a perfectly functional safe house, because, of course, nothing can ever just stay intact in Rake's vicinity. David, the architect of this whole mess, makes his grand entrance. He's less master criminal and more guy who brought a knife to a gunfight and then set the whole thing on fire. Rake, singed and simmering with a righteous fury, finally corners him. The room is bathed in an orange, flickering glow, the heat palpable, the air thick with smoke and the metallic scent of impending doom. The confrontation is short, sharp, and utterly brutal. David, for all his bravado, is no match for a man who's just spent 2 hours fighting through a prison and a train. The crack of bone, the guttural grunt of effort from Rake, and then a decisive, fatal blow. It's less a fight and more an execution, a swift, brutal end to a man who deserved every bit of it. The metallic tang of blood hangs heavy in the air, mixing with the acrid smell of burning wood. Kedivin, in a moment of agonizing clarity, witnesses the killing. Her husband, the man who trapped her, is gone, but the manner of his death, at the hands of her own brother-in-law, adds another complex layer to her already fractured psyche. It's not a moment of triumph for Rake, but a grim necessity, another soul added to the ledger of his violent life. The silence that follows David's demise is deafening, momentarily overriding the crackle of the flames, a heavy punctuation mark. On a life of crime, the mission is technically complete, but the emotional fallout is just beginning to smolder, like the embers of the burning house around them, with David dispatched and the safe house looking like a particularly ambitious bonfire. Rake and his team make a tactical, if somewhat scorched earth, retreat. Rake, who at this point is probably held together by sheer willpower and an impressive amount of medical tape, is a wreck. Nick, ever the medic, administers some quick and dirty first aid, patching up gaping wounds with the grim efficiency of someone who's done this a million times. The metallic scent of blood and antiseptic fills the cold air. The scene is steeped in a somber, reflective atmosphere, the lingering smoke a testament to the chaos they just endured. There's no triumphant celebration, just the heavy weight of exhaustion and the grim realization of the immense cost. The children, still wide-eyed with trauma, are trying to process the fact that their family vacation involved more explosions and gunfire than a Michael Bay movie. Kedivin, though safe, is a tempest of conflicting emotions, relief, resentment, and a deep, gnawing fear for her children's future. The tension between her and Rake is palpable, a silent accusation hanging between them. Even Yaz, usually composed, looks utterly drained. It's a moment of quiet reflection on the brutal reality of their lives, a stark reminder that even when they win, they still lose a piece of themselves. The world Rake inhabits is not one of clean victories, but of endless, brutal cycles, and the scars they carry are both visible and deeply internal. It's a poignant pause before the narrative inevitably gears up for yet another round of beautifully choreographed destruction. You almost expect Rake to sigh dramatically and say, "Can I get a vacation with actual beaches this time?" Months pass and Rake, against all medical probability, is once again mostly patched up. He's probably got more titanium than a jet fighter at this point, but his resolve remains unbroken. The quiet life, however, is not for him. Zurab, David's utterly unhinged brother, who apparently skipped the grief counseling stage and went straight to global terrorist mastermind, is still out there. And Rake, driven by a simmering mix of personal vengeance and a profound sense of responsibility for the innocent lives caught in Zurab's web, isn't about to let that stand. So we find our team now in the bustling, beautiful city of Prague, looking up at a towering, sleek skyscraper that screams villain's lair louder than a neon sign. The city lights twinkle below, completely oblivious to the impending storm. The air is thick with a renewed sense of purpose, a grim determination to finish what they started. This isn't just a mission anymore, it's a reckoning. Nick and Yaz are. By his side, their loyalty unwavering, their faces etched with the same resolve. The briefing is concise, outlining Zurab's high-tech, heavily guarded fortress of solitude. This time, the stakes are even higher, the target's more elusive. Rake, with that signature steely glint in his eye, is ready to unleash hell. The metallic clang of their gear, the focused intensity in their eyes, it's all building towards one final explosive confrontation. Zurab, you've messed with the wrong family, and now, Rake is coming for you, with all the subtlety of a freight train and the precision of a surgeon. Prague is about to get a lot louder and a lot more explode. Why? Zurab's skyscraper isn't just tall, it's practically a vertical death trap. But for Rake and his crew, that's just an invitation to get creative. Forget the stairs. Rake prefers the human spider approach, rappelling down the side of the building, with all the grace of a ninja and all the destructive potential of a small asteroid. The wind whips past him, the city lights blurring below, as he meticulously makes his way to his entry point. The metallic whine of the rappel lines, the muffled thud of his boots against the glass, it's a symphony of stealth and impending chaos. He breaches a window with the elegance of a sledgehammer, glass shattering outwards in a dazzling display, and immediately transitions into a whirlwind of close-quarters combat. Zurab's guards, dressed in surprisingly stylish tactical gear, are clearly not expecting a man to just fall into their office. The crack of punches, the grunt of effort, the sharp reports of silenced firearms, the action is fast, brutal, and relentless. The team ascends through the various floors, each one a new combat zone, a new opportunity for Rake to demonstrate his unique brand of negotiation. He's not just shooting, he's using the environment, flipping tables, turning office furniture into makeshift weapons. This isn't a stealth mission anymore, it's a full-frontal assault, a vertical gauntlet of violence. Every floor brings a new challenge, a new wave of Zurab's heavily armed goons, and Rake meets each one with a grim determination. The sleek, modern architecture of the skyscraper provides a stark, almost sterile, backdrop to the escalating mayhem, making the violence feel even more jarring. The higher they go, the closer they get to Zurab, and the more desperate the fighting becomes. You can almost hear the building groaning under the weight of so much concentrated fury. Just when Rake thinks he might get a moment to enjoy the panoramic views, he stumbles into Zurab's personal gym. And naturally, it's not empty standing. There, looking like he eats protein shakes for breakfast and barbells for lunch, is Zurab's main henchman, a towering behemoth of muscle and bad intentions. This isn't just a fight, it's a pure, unadulterated, old-school brawl. The clanging of weights, the squeak of shoes on the rubber floor, the guttural grunts of effort. The sound design here is a masterclass in visceral audio. Rake, ever the resourceful one, doesn't just use his fists. He incorporates the entire gym as his personal arsenal. Dumbbells become projectiles, weight benches become defensive shields, and punching bags probably wish they'd stayed in storage. The fight is a brutal ballet of impact and pain, each blow landing with a sickening thud. The henchman, despite his size, is surprisingly agile, a whirlwind of muscle and fury. Rake, battered and bruised from the earlier fights, has to dig deep. Pushing past his physical limits, you can almost feel the metallic taste of exertion in the air, the burning in their muscles. It's a test of endurance, a raw display of strength and martial prowess, where every parry, every kick, every bone-jarring punch carries the weight of the entire mission. The camera work is tight, almost claustrophobic, pulling you into the frantic, desperate struggle. It's the kind of fight that leaves you breathless, marveling at the sheer physicality on display. Rake eventually, and quite violently, manages to subdue his hulking opponent, proving once again that skill and sheer tenacity often trump brute force. Even when that brute force looks like it could crush a bowling ball, Rake finally reaches the penthouse, the lair of the venomous Zurab, only to find the villain isn't playing fair. Shocker. Zurab, with a smug grin that just begs for a good punching, has Ketevin's children, Sandro and Nina, held hostage, effectively turning Rake's primary objective into a ticking time bomb. The tension in the luxurious, yet now deeply unsettling, penthouse is thick enough to cut with a diamond-tipped blade. Rake, momentarily frozen by the sight of the children, finds his focus shattered. But before he can even formulate a plan, Zurab unleashes a truly despicable act. In a moment that rips through the audience's collective heart, Zurab swiftly and coldly raises his weapon and fires, striking Yaz down. The sharp crack of the gunshot, followed by the sickening thud of Yaz hitting the floor, reverberates through the room like a death knell. There's no dramatic monologue, no last words, just the brutal, instantaneous finality of it. Yaz, Rake's loyal, dependable right-hand man, is gone, just like that. The metallic tang of gunpowder hangs heavy in the air, a grim reminder of the cost. Rake's initial shock quickly morphs into an uncontrollable, primal rage. The mission isn't just about rescuing the kids anymore. It's about vengeance, about making Zurab pay for this unforgivable act. The air crackles with Rake's fury, a palpable wave of destructive intent. This isn't just business now, it's deeply, irrevocably personal. The children, witnessing another horrific act of violence, cower in terror, their innocent world crumbling around them. The once sleek penthouse now feels like a tomb, stained by the fresh blood of a fallen comrade. The whoosh of Rake's breath, the tremor in his hands, it's a moment that defines the rest of the film, transforming Rake from a rescuer into an avenging angel, albeit one with a very large gun. Yaz's death is the spark that ignites Rake's already simmering fury into an inferno. Any semblance of tactical planning or restraint vanishes, replaced by a raw, primal need for vengeance. He lunges at Zurab, not with a calculated move, but with the force of a wounded animal. This isn't just a fight. It's a visceral, no-holds-barred brawl, a clash of titans fueled by hate and grief. The metallic crash of bodies slamming against expensive furniture, the guttural grunts of exertion, the sickening thud of punches connecting. Every sound is amplified, pulling you into the brutal intimacy of the struggle. Zurab, for all his villainous charm, is a formidable opponent, surprisingly agile and ruthless. He fights dirty, mirroring Rake's own desperation. The opulent penthouse, now a shattered wreck, becomes their arena, each broken piece of glass and overturned table a testament to the intensity of their battle. Rake, driven by the memory of Yaz, pushes past his own pain, his movements infused with a desperate, almost reckless, power. He's absorbing blows that would fell a lesser man, but he keeps coming, a relentless force of nature. The whoosh of a missed swing, the metallic clatter of a fallen object, the heavy breaths of the combatants, it's all part of the symphony of their destructive dance. The scene is a masterclass in close-quarters combat, each blow designed to inflict maximum damage, each parry a desperate attempt to survive. This isn't about winning, it's about making Zurab pay, making him feel a fraction of the pain he inflicted. Rake's face, contorted in a mask of rage and grief, tells the entire story. There's no subtlety here, just pure, unadulterated, raw fury, building to an inevitable, violent crescendo. You can almost feel the vibrating tension in the air, the sheer, crushing weight of Rake's grief fueling every punch. After what felt like an eternity of bone-crunching, soul-crushing combat, Rake, battered but unbroken, finally gains the upper hand with a final, desperate surge of strength fueled by Yaz's memory. He corners Zurab. There's a raw, almost animalistic intensity in Rake's eyes as he prepares to deliver the final blow. The metallic tang of blood and sweat fills the air, heavy with the weight of retribution. With a brutal, decisive move, a sharp crack that seems to echo through the now silent penthouse, Rake ends Zurab's life. It's not a triumphant cheer, not a heroic pose, but a grim, exhausted finality. The metallic clang of Zurab's falling weapon, the sickening thud of his body hitting the floor, it's a stark, unglamorous end to a ruthless villain. A heavy silence descends, broken only by Rake's ragged breaths, the sound of a man pushed beyond his limits. There's no joy, no celebration, just a quiet, dark satisfaction of justice, however brutal, being served. Meanwhile, Nick, ever the professional, has secured Ketavin's children, shielding them from the brutal reality of their uncle's profession, but not from the indelible scars of what they've witnessed. The mission is truly over, but the cost, etched deeply onto Rake's very soul, is immeasurable. The whoosh of the wind through the shattered windows, the distant city hum, it all seems to fade into the background, leaving only the stark silence. Of the aftermath, Rake looks down at Zurab's lifeless body, a profound exhaustion settling over him, knowing that some victories feel just as heavy as defeats. He's a survivor, yes, but one forever marked by the violence he wields. Well, you can't exactly blow up half a skyscraper and expect the authorities to just send a strongly worded letter. Almost immediately after Zurab's demise, the Prague police, along with various government agencies, arrive on the scene with all the subtlety of a herd of elephants. Rake and Nick, who are probably more surprised they're still standing than they are by the flashing lights, are promptly taken into custody. The metallic click of handcuffs, the stern voices of the officers, the sudden shift from chaotic violence to structured authority, it's a jarring transition. Nick, ever the pragmatic one, immediately tries to negotiate, probably rattling off a list of favors owed and plausible deniability clauses, but even she knows this isn't an easy walk away. Rake, for his part, looks almost relieved. The fight is over, the immediate threat gone, and the exhaustion finally catches up. He doesn't resist, simply accepting the inevitable consequences of his life's work. The scene is a stark reminder that even Black Ops mercenaries aren't entirely above the law, even if those laws are usually bent pretty far for them. It's a somber end to the immediate conflict, a quiet interlude before the next round of shadowy deals and dangerous missions. The whoosh of police sirens, the murmur of surprised onlookers, the clanking of the cell door in the near future, it all paints a picture of grim reality. It's the reckoning, the moment where the brutal hero has to face the music, however brief that music might be before All-Kit inevitably pulls more strings. So, Rake and Nick find themselves in a prison cell, because apparently, even globetrotting mercenaries need a little timeout after causing international incidents. But this isn't just any prison. It's the kind where you know All-Kit, the puppet master, has already pulled strings to ensure they're comfortably detained. And speaking of All-Kit, he makes his predictable appearance, sauntering into their cell with the air of a man who owns the place, which he probably does. He's not there to gloat or deliver a lecture on proper international espionage etiquette. Oh no, he's there with a new offer, a fresh batch of highly illegal, morally ambiguous, and incredibly dangerous work. He lays out the terms of their release, which basically amounts to one more impossible mission and you're free. For now, the metallic clang of the cell door, the hushed intensity of Alcott's voice, the almost palpable weight of the unspoken threats, it's a masterclass in power dynamics. He hints at the shadowy, powerful forces they truly serve, forces that operate beyond the reach of governments and laws, always needing men like Rake to clean up their messes. It's a tantalizing setup for future adventures, ensuring Rake will never truly escape this life of violence and redemption. The whoosh of opportunity, the promise of freedom through servitude, it's a classic devil's bargain, and Rake, ever the warrior, seems ready to pick up his guns again. The final shot of them, locked away but with a new path laid out, leaves US hungry for more, a perfect cliffhanger to ensure Rake and Nick back for another round of glorious, high-octane chaos. It's like a subscription service for existential dread and tactical firearms, and Rake just renewed his membership. As the cell door clangs shut, sealing Rake and Nick in their temporary confinement. A quiet, almost melancholic understanding passes. Between them, Alcott's offer isn't just a new mission. It's a reaffirmation of their purpose, a grim reminder that for some, the path of violence and sacrifice is the only one they know. They stare out, not at bars, but at a horizon filled with unseen battles and untold dangers. It's a moment of reflection, a thoughtful pause after the storm, acknowledging the heavy toll their lives take, but also the undeniable drive to keep fighting for what they believe is right. Despite the pain, the losses, and the endless cycle of brutality, there's a quiet strength in their shared resolve. The road ahead is uncertain, fraught with peril, but they face it together, two warriors bound by loyalty and a shared, unbreakable spirit. It reminds us that even in the darkest corners, hope and purpose can flicker, guiding those who dare to stand against the tide. The metallic taste of uncertainty mixes with the whoosh of their unwavering determination, leaving us to wonder what new challenges await these two titans. This journey isn't just about explosions and gunfights. It's about the resilience of the human spirit, the enduring bonds of loyalty, and the relentless pursuit of a flawed, but essential, form of justice. What a wild ride, and what an inspirational and thoughtful end to an incredible story.